I'm going to assume the audience is all in, and welcome you all in to the Two River Virtual Theater. Hi, everybody. I'm John Diaz, the Artistic Director, welcoming, I think, many of you back. I don't know if there are any new ones of you here for our virtual performance of the Two River Theater Players production of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. We've been doing this for a few weeks now. We're going to read one act a week. We are now up to Act 3 with this quite fabulous group of actors ready to launch in. But first, I thought we would do a couple of things by way of introduction again. I should say I wish that I had worked with Dan, our sound supervisor and extraordinaire, to give me a little bit of Renaissance music underneath my speaking. Maybe we'll get that for next time. I feel like that's what's missing here. I thought we should do, again, just going around letting everybody know who our company is. We have one of the actors who wasn't here last week, who's going to tell you, Amanda, a bit about herself. But for everybody else, I'm just going to have everybody else say who they are, what they do, and what role they play. And I'm just going to go around the squares on my screen. And quite conveniently, Amanda is number 1, and she's the one who we want to tell us a little bit more than the others. So let's start with you, Amanda.
All right. Hi, I'm Amanda Espinoza. I'm the Education and Community Engagement Manager there at Two River Theater. And I actually have my MFA from Texas Tech University in Performance and Pedagogy, which is just fancy for I was an actor and I could teach it. When people ask me what that is. So yeah, I acted and I did it. I worked as a teaching artist and I fell in love with educational theater. And I threw my resume into the universe to Two River Theater, and it landed on the desk of Kate Cordaro. And I'm here now acting with the Two River Players. And tonight I will be playing Tybalt.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. All right. Next on my screen is Yurik.
Yeah, I'm Yurik Lozano. I'm Two Rivers Multimedia Manager, and I'm going to be playing Citizen and Paris.
Fantastic. Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Montano. I'm the sound supervisor at Two River Theater, and I'm going to be playing Prince Aeschylus and Friar Lawrence.
Great. Over here is Christian.
Hi, everybody. I'm Christian Dilks. I'm the staff carpenter at Two River, and for tonight, I'll be playing Benvolio.
And Sara.
Hello, my name is Sara Holdren. I'm a director who's done several shows at Two River, and I'll be playing Juliet.
Denyse.
Hi, I'm Denyse Reed. Hi, Mom, miss you. I'm the Director of Development here at Two River, and I'm playing Lady Capulet.
Awesome. Abbey.
Hi, I'm Abbey Smith, and I'm a lighting and sound assistant, and I will be playing Capulet.
Great. Duane.
I am Duane Noch, the Master Carpenter at Two River, and I'll be playing Mercutio tonight.
Great. And Taylor.
Hello, I'm Taylor Barfield. I'm the literary manager at Two River, and today I will be reading for Romeo.
Great. And Mich.
Hi, I'm Mich Davis. I am the props assistant at Two River Theater, and I will be Montague today.
Montague, right. All right. And over here, Kate Cordaro.
Hi, I'm Kate Cordaro. I'm the Director of Education at Two River, and I'll be the nurse and Petruchio.
Great. Down at the bottom of my screen, I have Katie Benson. So I don't know, I'm assuming everyone can see you, Katie. What are you playing tonight?
I'm Katie Benson. I'm the Special Events Manager, and I will be the Stage Manager tonight.
Great. All right. Well, Stage Manager, let's get everybody to places backstage for the curtain up on Act 3 of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. So Act 3, Scene 1, enter Mercutio, Benvolio, and their men.
Sorry to interrupt you, John. Did you want a summary?
Oh my God.
No.
Yes, you're so good, Sara Holdren, because you worked on that summary, and we want that summary desperately. Yes. So please give it to us.
Just catching everyone up. So we're starting with Act 2. We had a chorus at the top of Act 2 that brought us up to speed on our lovers meeting. And then, joy of joys, we had the balcony scene. Romeo hung around outside of Capulet's house after the party and spied on Juliet up at her window, and the two of them exchanged some of the world's most wonderful love poetry. And then after about 5 minutes, they decided to get married. And Juliet promised to send her nurse with Romeo by the hour of 9 the next day to set up the time and the place. Then we met Friar Lawrence for the first time, a friend and confessor to Romeo, and also a big fan of plants. And also a dude who takes absolutely none of Romeo's bullshit. Romeo showed up and started swooning over his new girlfriend, and Friar Lawrence was very skeptical at first, but then eventually was kind and relented and agreed to help the lovers get married. Then we met up with Mercutio and Benvolio out on the street. They were bored and feisty and hanging around waiting for Romeo. And once he showed up, they exchanged a lot of bawdy, obscure wordplay. They gave the nurse a really hard time when she came out to try and find Romeo, but eventually she was able to deliver Juliet's message, and the wedding was all set up. Then she went home to tell Juliet that everything was good, but she took her sweet, sweet, sweet time about doing it and let Juliet sweat a bit first. But eventually she said, go to Friar Lawrence's cell. There stays a husband to make you a wife. And Juliet showed up at the cell, and the act ended with not the literal marriage on stage, but the implication that they were going right off stage to get married. So it ended with the marriage, and here we are.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sara Holdren. Okay, now up to places. For Act 3, Scene 1, enter Mercutio, Benvolio, and their men.
I pray thee, good Mercutio, let's retire. The day is hot, the Capulets are abroad, and if we meet, we shall not scape a brawl. For now, these hot days is the mad blood stirring.
Thou art like one of these fellows that, when he enters the confine of a tavern, claps me his sword upon the table and says, God, send me no need of thee. And by the operation of the second cup, draws him on the drawer, when indeed there is no need.
Oh, am I like such a fellow?
Come. Thou art as hot a jack in thy mood as any in Italy, and as soon moved to be moody, and as soon moody to be moved.
And what two?
Nay, and there were two such we should have none shortly, for one would kill the other. Why, thou wilt quarrel with a man that hath a hair more or a hair less on his beard than thou hast. Thou wilt quarrel with a man for cracking nuts, having no other reason but because thou hast hazel eyes. What eye but such an eye would spy out such a quarrel? Thy head is as full of quarrels as an egg is full of meat, and yet thy head hath been beaten as addle as an egg for quarreling. Thou hast quarrelled with a man for coughing in the street, because he hath wakened thy dog that hath lain asleep in the sun. Didst thou not fall out with a tailor for wearing his new doublet before Easter, with another for tying his new shoes with an old ribbon, and yet thou wilt tutor me from quarreling?
I were so apt to quarrel as thou art, any man should buy the fee simple of my life for an hour and a quarter.
The fee simple? Oh, simple.
Enter Tybalt, Petruchio, and others.
By my head, here come the Capulets.
By my heel, I care not.
Follow me close, for I will speak to them. Good gentlemen, good evening. A word with one of you.
And but one word with one of us? Couple it with something. Make it a word and a blow.
You shall find me an apt enough to that, sir, and you will give me occasion.
Could you not take some occasion without giving?
Mercutio, thou consortest with Romeo.
Consort? What, dost thou make us minstrels? And thou makest minstrels of us look to hear nothing but discords. Here's my fiddlestick. Here's that shall make you dance. Zoons, consort.
We talk here in the public haunt of men. Either withdraw unto some private place, or reason coldly of your grievances, or else depart. Here all eyes gaze on us.
Men's eyes were made to look, and let them gaze. I will not budge for no man's pleasure, I.
Enter Romeo,
Well, peace be with you, sir. Here comes my man.
But I'll be hanged, sir, if he wear your livery. Mary, go before the field. He'll be your follower. Your worship, in that sense, may call him mad.
Romeo, the love I bear thee can afford. No better term than this. Thou art a villain.
Tybalt, the reason that I have to love thee doth much excuse the appertaining rage to such a greeting. Villain am I none, therefore farewell. I see thou knowest me not.
Boy, this shall not excuse the injuries that thou hast done me. Therefore turn and draw.
I do protest, I never injured thee, but love thee better than thou canst devise, till thou shalt know the reason of my love. And so, good Capulet, which name I tender as dearly as mine own, be satisfied.
Oh, come, dishonorable, vile submission. A staccato carries it away.
Mercutio draws his sword.
Tybalt, you rat catcher, will you walk?
What wouldest thou have with me?
Good king of cats, nothing but one of your 9 lives, that I mean to make bold withal, and as you shall use me hereafter, dry beat the rest of the 8. Will you pluck your sword out of his pilcher by his ears? Make haste, lest mine be about your ears ere it be out.
I am for you.
Tybalt draws.
Gentle Mercutio, put thy rapier up!
Come, sir, your passado.
They fight.
Oh, Benvolio, beat down their weapons!
Romeo draws.
Gentlemen, for shame, forbear this outrage. Tybalt, Mercutio, the prince expressly hath forbid this banding in Verona streets. Hold, Tybalt, good Mercutio!
Romeo attempts to beat down their rapiers. Tybalt stabs Mercutio.
Away, Tybalt!
Tybalt, Petruchio, and their followers exit.
I am hurt. A plague of both houses! I am sped. Is he gone and hath nothing?
What, art thou hurt?
Aye, a scratch. A scratch. Mary, 'tis enough. Where's my page? Go, villain, fetch a surgeon!
Courage, man, the hurt cannot be much.
No, 'tis not so deep as a well, nor so wide as a church door, but 'tis enough. 'Twill serve. Ask me tomorrow, and you shall find me a grave man. I am peppered, I warrant, for this world. A plague of both your houses! Soons, a dog, a rat, a mouse, a cat, to scratch a man to death, a braggart, a rogue, a villain that fights by the book of arithmetic. Why the devil came you between us? I was hurt under your arm.
I thought all for the best.
Help me to some house, Benvolio, or I shall faint. A plague of both your houses! They have made worm's meat of me. I have it, and soundly too. Your houses!
All but Romeo exit.
This gentleman, the prince's near ally, my very friend, hath got this mortal hurt in my behalf. My reputation stained with Tybalt's slander, Tybalt that an hour hath been my cousin. O sweet Juliet, thy beauty hath made me effeminate, and in my temper softened valor's steel.
Enter Benvolio.
Romeo. If Mercutio is dead, that down spirit hath aspired the clouds, which too untimely did here scorn the earth.
This day's black fate on more days doth depend. This but begins the woe others must end.
Enter Tybalt.
Here comes the furious Tybalt, back again.
Alive in triumph, and Mercutio slain. Away to heaven, respective lenity and fire-eyed fury be my conduct now. Now, Tybalt, take the villain back again that thou late gavest me, for Mercutio's soul is but a little way above our heads, staying for thine to keep him company. Either thou or I, or both must go with him.
Thou wretched boy, thou didst consort him here. Shout with him hence.
This shall determine that.
They fight, and Tybalt falls.
Romeo, away, be gone. The citizens are up and Tybalt slain. Stand not amazed. The prince will doom thee death if thou art taken. Hence, be gone, away.
I am fortune's fool.
Why dost thou stay?
Romeo exits, enter citizens.
Which way ran he that killed Mercutio? Tybalt, that murderer, which way ran he?
There lies Tybalt.
Up, sir. Go with me. I charge thee in the prince's name. Obey.
Enter Prince, old Montague, Capulet, their wives, and all.
Where are the vile beginners of this fray?
Oh, noble prince, I can discover all the unlucky manage of this fatal brawl. There lies the man, slain by young Romeo, that slew thy kinsman, brave Mercutio.
Tybalt, my cousin, oh my brother's child. Oh prince, oh cousin, husband. Oh, the blood is spilled of my dear kinsman. Princess, thou art true, for blood of ours shed blood of Montague. Oh cousin, cousin.
Benvolio, who began this bloody fray?
Tybalt, here slain, who Romeo's hand did slay. Romeo, that spoke him fair, bid him bethink how nice the quarrel was, and urged withal your high displeasure. All this uttered with gentle breath, calm look, knees humbly bowed, could not take truce with the unruly spleen of Tybalt, deaf to peace, but that he tilt with piercing steel at bold Mercutio's breast. Who, all is hot, turns deadly point to point, and with a martial scorn, with one hand beats cold death aside, and with the other sends it back to Tybalt, whose dexterity retorts it. Romeo, he cries aloud, hold friends, friends part, and swifter than his tongue, his agile arm beats down their fatal points, and twixt them rushes, underneath whose arm an envious thrust from Tybalt hit the life of stout Mercutio, and then Tybalt fled. But by and by comes back to Romeo, who had but newly entertained revenge, and to it they go like lightning, for ere I could draw to part them, the stout Tybalt slain. And as he fell, did Romeo turn and fly. This is the truth, or let Benvolio die.
He is a kinsman to the Montague. Affection makes him false, he speaks not true. Some 20 of them fought in this black strife, and all those 20 could kill but one life. I beg for justice, which thou, prince, must give. Romeo slew Tybalt, Romeo must not live.
Romeo slew him. He slew Mercutio. Who now the price of his dear blood doth owe?
Not Romeo, prince. He was Mercutio's friend. His faults conclude, but what the law should end, the life of Tybalt.
And for that offense, immediately we do exile him hence. I have an interest in your heart's proceeding, my blood, for your rude brawls doth lie a-bleeding. But I'll immerse you with so strong a fine, that you shall all repent the loss of mine. I will be deaf to pleading and excuses, nor tears, nor prayers shall purchase out abuses, therefore use none. Let Romeo hence in haste, else when he is found, that hour is his last. Bear hence this body and attend our will. Mercy, but murders, pardoning those that kill.
They exit, the Capulet men bearing off Tybalt's body. Scene 2. Enter Juliet alone.
Oh, gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, toward Phoebus' lodging. Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink and Romeo leap to these arms untalked of and unseen. Lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, or if love be blind, it best agrees with night. Oh, come, civil night, thou sober-suited matron, all in black, and learn me how to lose a winning match, played for a pair of stainless maidenhoods. Hood my unmanned blood, bathing in my cheek with thy black mantle, till strange love grow bold. Think true love acted, simple modesty. Come, night, come, Romeo, come thou day and night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow upon a raven's back. Come, gentle night, Come, loving, black-browed night, give me my Romeo. And when he shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night and pay no worship to the garish sun. Oh, I have bought the mansion of a love, but not possessed it, and though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So tedious is this day as is the night before some festival to an impatient child that hath new robes, but may not wear them.
Enter nurse with a rope ladder.
Here comes my nurse, and she brings news in every tongue that speaks, but Romeo's name speaks heavenly eloquence. Now, nurse, what news? What hast thou there? The cords that Romeo did bid thee fetch?
Aye, the cords.
I mean, what news? Why dost thou wring thy hands?
Where a day? He's dead. He's dead. He's dead. We are undone, lady. We are undone. Alack, the day he's gone. He's killed. He's dead.
Can heaven be so envious?
Romeo can, though heaven cannot. Oh, Romeo. Romeo, who would have thought it? Romeo!
What devil art thou to torment me thus? This torture should be roared in dismal hell. Hath Romeo slain himself? Say thou, but I, and that bare vowel, I shall poison more than the death-daring eye of like the cockatrice. I am not I, if there be such an eye, or those eyes shut that make the answer I. If he be slain, say I, or if not, no. Brief sounds determine my weal or woe.
I saw the wound, I saw it with mine eyes. God save the mark, here on his manly breast. A piteous course of bloody, piteous course, pale as ashes, all bedaubled in blood, all in gore of blood. I swooned at the sight.
Oh, break my heart, poor bankrupt, break at once. To prison eyes ne'er look on liberty. Vile earth to earth, resign, end motion here, and thou and Romeo press one heavy bier.
Tybalt, oh, Tybalt, the best friend I had. Oh, courteous Tybalt, honest gentleman, that I ever should I live to see thee dead.
What storm is this that blows so contrary? Is Romeo slaughtered? And is Tybalt dead? My dearest cousin and my dearer lord, then dreadful trumpets sound the general doom, for who is living if these two are gone?
Tybalt is gone, and Romeo banished. Romeo that killed him, he is banished.
Oh God, did Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood?
It did. It did. Alas, the day, it did.
Oh, serpent heart hid with a flowering face. Did ever dragon keep so fair a cave? Beautiful, tyrant, fiend, angelical, dove-feathered raven, wolvish, ravening lamb, despised substance of divinest show, just opposite to what thou justly seemst. A damned saint, an honorable villain. Oh, nature, what hadst thou to do in hell when thou didst devour the spirit of a fiend in mortal paradise of such sweet flesh? Was ever book containing such vile matter so fairly bound? Oh, that deceit should dwell in such a gorgeous palace.
There's no trust, no faith, no honesty, in men, all perjured, all forsworn, all not, all dissemblers. Ugh, where's my man? Give me some aqua vitae. These griefs, these woes, these sorrows make me old. Shame come to Romeo.
Blistered be thy tongue for such a wish. He was not born to shame. Upon his brow shame is ashamed to sit, for 'tis a throne where honor may be crowned, sole monarch of the universal earth. Oh, what a beast was I to chide at him!
Will you speak well of him that killed your cousin?
Shall I speak ill of him that is my husband? Oh, poor my lord, what tongue shall smooth thy name when I, thy 3 hours wife, have mangled it? But wherefore, villain, didst thou kill my cousin? That villain cousin would have killed my husband. Back, foolish tears, back to your native spring. Your tributary drops belong to woe, which you, mistaking, offer up to joy. My husband lives, that Tybalt would have slain, and Tybalt's dead, that would have slain my husband. All this is comfort. Wherefore weep I then? Some word there was, worser than Tybalt's death, that murdered me. I would forget it fain, but oh, it presses to my memory like damned guilty deeds to sinners' minds. Tybalt is dead, and Romeo banished. That banished, that one word, banished, hath slain 10,000 Tybalts. Tybalt's death were woe enough if it had ended there, or if sour woe delights in fellowship and needly will be ranked with other griefs. Why followed not when they said, Tybalt's dead, thy father, or thy mother, nay, or both, which modern lamentation might have moved, but with a rearward following Tybalt's death, Romeo is banished. To speak that word, his father, mother, Tybalt, Romeo, Juliet, all slain, all dead. Romeo is banished. There is no end, no limit, measure, bound in that word's death. No words can that woe sound. Where is my father and my mother, nurse?
Weeping and wailing over Tybalt's corse. Will you go to them? I will bring you thither.
Wash they his wounds with tears. Mine shall be spent when theirs are dry. For Romeo's banishment, take up these cords.
The nurse picks up the rope ladder.
Oh, you are beguiled, both you and I, for Romeo is exiled. He made you for a highway to my bed, but I, a maid, die maiden widowed. Come, cords, come, nurse, I'll to my wedding bed, and death, not Romeo, take my maidenhead.
Fly to your chamber. I'll find Romeo to comfort you. I wot well where he is. Hark you, your Romeo will be here at night. I'll to him, he is hid at Lawrence's cell.
Oh, find him! Give him this ring. Give this ring to my true knight, and bid him come to take his last farewell.
They exit. Scene 3, enter Friar Lawrence.
Romeo, come forth. Come forth, thou fearful man. Affliction is enamored of thy parts, and thou art wedded to calamity.
Enter Romeo.
Father, what news? What is the prince's doom? What sorrow craves acquaintance at my hand that I yet know not?
Too familiar is my dear son with such sour company. I bring thee tidings of the prince's doom.
What less than doomsday is the prince's doom?
The gentler judgment vanished from his lips, not body's death, but body's banishment.
Banishment. Be merciful, say death, for exile hath more terror in his look, much more than death. Do not say banishment.
Here from Verona art thou banished. Be patient, for the world is broad and wide.
There is no world without Verona walls, but purgatory, torture, hell itself. Hence, banished is banished from the world, and world's exile is death. Then banished is death mistermed, calling death banished. Thou cutt'st my head off with a golden axe and smilest upon the stroke that murders me.
Oh, deadly sin, a rude unthankfulness. Thy fault our law calls death. But the kind prince, taking thy part, hath rushed aside the law and turned that black word death to banishment. This is dear mercy, and thou seest it not.
'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing live here in heaven and may look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. They may seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand and steal immortal blessing from her lips, who even in pure and vestal modesty still blush, as thinking their own kisses sin. But Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men, but I am banished. And say'st thou yet that exile is not death? Hadst thou no poison mix, no sharp ground knife, no sudden mean of death, though ne'er so mean, but banished to kill me, banished. O friar, the damned use that word in hell. Howling attends it. How hast thou the heart, being a divine, a ghostly confessor, a sin absolver, and my friend professed to mangle me with the word banished?
Fond madman, hear me a little speak.
Oh, thou wilt speak again of banishment.
I'll give thee armor to keep off that word, adversity, sweet milk, philosophy to comfort thee, though thou art banished.
Yet banished, hang up philosophy, unless philosophy can make a Juliet. Display unto town, reverse a prince's doom, it helps not, it prevails not, talk no more.
Oh, that I see madmen have no ears.
How should they when that wise men have no eyes?
Let me dispute with thee of thy estate.
Thou canst not speak of that thou dost not feel. Wert thou as young as I, Juliet thy love, an hour but married, Tybalt murdered, doting like me, and like me banished, then mightst thou speak, then mightst thou tear thy hair and fall upon the ground as I do now, taking the measure of an unmade grave.
There is knocking from within.
Arise, one knocks. Good Romeo, hide thyself.
Not I, unless the breath of heartsick groans, mist-like, enfold me from the search of eyes.
More knocking.
Hark how they knock. Who's there? Romeo, arise, thou wilt be taken. Stay a while. Stand up. Run to my study by and by. God's will, what simpleness is this? I come. Who knocks so hard? Whence come you? What's your will?
Let me come in, and you shall know my errand. I come from Lady Juliet.
Welcome then.
Oh, holy friar, tell me, holy friar, where's my lady's lord? Where's Romeo?
There, on the ground, made drunk with his own tears.
Oh, he is even in my mistress's case, just in her case. Oh, woeful sympathy, piteous predicament. Even so lies she, blubbering and weeping and blubbering. Stand up. Stand up. Stand and you be a man, for Juliet's sake. For her sake, rise and stand. Why should you fall into so deep an O?
Nurse.
Ah, sir, death's the end of all.
Spakest thou of Juliet? How is it with her? Does not she think me an old murderer, now I have stained the childhood of our joy with blood removed but little from her own? Where is she, and how doth she? And what says my concealed lady to our cancelled love?
Oh, she says nothing, sir, but weeps and weeps, and now falls on her bed, and then starts up, and Tybalt calls, and then on Romeo cries, and then down again, down falls again.
As if that name shot from the deadly level of a gun did murder her, as that name's cursed hand murdered her kinsman. Oh, tell me, friar, tell me in what vile part of this anatomy doth my name lodge. Tell me what I may sack the hateful mansion.
He draws his dagger.
Hold thy desperate hand. Art thou a man? Thy form cries out thou art. Thy tears are womanish. Thy wild acts denote the unreasonable fury of a beast, unseeming woman in a seeming man, and ill-beseeming beast in seeming boast. Thou hast amazed me. By my holy order, I thought thy disposition better tempered. Hast thou slain Tybalt? Wilt thou slay thyself and slay thy lady that in thy life lives, by doing damned hate upon thyself? Why railest thou on thy birth, the heaven and earth? Since birth and heaven and earth, all three do meet in thee at once, which thou at once wouldst lose. Fie, thou shamest thy shape, thy love, thy wit, which like a usurer abound'st in all, and usest none in that true use, indeed, which should bedeck thy shape, thy love, thy wit. Thy noble shape is but a form of wax, digressing from the valor of a man. Thy dear love sworn, but hollow perjury, killing that love which thou hast vowed to cherish. Thy wit, that ornament to shape and love misshapen in the conduct of them both, like powder in a skilless soldier's flask, is set afire by thine own ignorance, and thou dismembered with thine own defense. What? Rouse thee, man. Thy Juliet is alive, for whose dear sake thou wast but lately dead. There art thou happy. Tybalt would kill thee, but thou slewest Tybalt. There art thou happy. The law that threatened death becomes thy friend and turns it to exile. There art thou happy. A pack of blessings light upon thy back. Happiness courts thee in her best array, but like a misbehaved and sullen wench, thou pouts upon thy fortune and thy love. Take heed, for such die miserable. Go, get thee to thy love as was decreed. Ascend her chamber hence and comfort her. But look thou, stay not till the watch be set, for then thou canst not pass to Mantua, where thou shalt live till we can find a time to blaze your marriage, reconcile your friends, beg pardon of the prince, and call thee back with 200,000 times more than thou wentst forth in lamentation. Go before, nurse. Commend me to thy lady, and bid her hasten all the house to bed, which heavy sorrow makes them apt unto. Romeo is coming.
Oh, Lord, I could have stayed here all the night to hear good counsel. Oh, what learning is. My lord, I'll tell my lady you will come.
Do so, and bid my sweet prepare to chide.
Here, sir, a ring. She bid me give you, sir.
Nurse gives Romeo a ring.
Hie you, make haste, for it grows very late.
How well my comfort is revived by this.
Go hence. Good night, and here stands all your state. Either be gone before the watch be set, or by the break of day disguised from hence. Sojourn in Mantua. I'll find out your man, and he shall signify from time to time every good hap to you that chances here. Give me thy hand. 'Tis late. Farewell. Good night.
That a joy past joy calls out on me. It were a grief so brief to part with thee. Farewell.
They exit. Scene 4. Enter old Capulet, his wife, and Paris.
Things have fallen out, sir, so unluckily that we have had no time to move our daughter. Look you, she loved her kinsman Tybalt dearly, and so did I. Well, we were born to die. 'Tis very late. She'll not come down tonight. I promise you, but for your company I would have been abed an hour ago.
These times of woe afford no times to woo. Madam, good night. Commend me to your daughter.
I will, and know her mind early tomorrow. Tonight she's mewed up to her heaviness.
Sir Paris, I will make a desperate tender of my child's love. I think she will be ruled in all respects by me. Nay, more I doubt it not. Wife, go you to her ere you go to bed. Acquaint her of my son Paris's love, and bid her, mark you me, on Wednesday next. But soft, what day is this?
Monday, my lord.
Monday? Well, Wednesday is too soon. Thursday let it be. Thursday tell her. She shall be married to this noble earl. Will you be ready? Do you like this haste? We'll keep no great ado, a friend or two. For hark you, Tybalt being slain so late, it may be thought we held him carelessly, being our kinsman, if we revel much. Therefore, we'll have some 6 friends, and there an end. But what you say to Thursday?
My lord, I would that Thursday were tomorrow.
Well, get you gone. Thursday be it then. Go you to Juliet ere you go to bed. Prepare her wife against the wedding day. Farewell, my lord. Light to my chamber. Oh, for me it's so very late that we may call it early by and by. Good night.
They exit. Scene 5. Enter Romeo and Juliet aloft.
Wilt thou be gone? It is not yet near day. It was the nightingale and not the lark that pierced the fearful hollow of thine ear. Nightly she sings on yon pomegranate tree. Believe me, love, it was the nightingale.
It was the lark, the herald of the morn, no nightingale. Look, love, what envious streaks do lace the severing clouds in yonder east. Night's candles are burnt out, and jocund day stands tiptoe on the misty mountain tops. I must be gone and live, or stay and die.
Yon light is not daylight. I know it, It is some meteor, the sun exhaled to be to thee this night a torchbearer and light thee on thy way to Mantua. Therefore stay yet, thou needst not to be gone.
Let me be ta'en. Let me be put to death. I am content, so thou wilt have it so. I'll say yon gray is not morning's eye, 'tis but the pale reflex of Cynthia's brow, nor that is not the lark whose notes do beat the vaulty heaven so high above our heads. I have more care to stay than will to go. Come death and welcome, Juliet wills it so. How is't, my soul? Let's talk, it is not day.
It is. Hence, be gone, away. It is the lark that sings so out of tune, straining harsh discords and unpleasing sharps. Some say the lark makes sweet division. This doth not so, for she divideth us. Oh, now I would they had changed voices too. Oh, some say the lark and loathed toad changed eyes. Oh, now I would they had changed voices too, since arm from arm that voice doth us affray, hunting thee hence with hunts up to the day. Oh, now be gone, more light and light it grows.
Oh, more light and light, more dark and dark our woes.
Enter the nurse.
Madam,
Nurse,
your lady mother is coming to your chamber. The day is broke. Be wary, look about.
then window, let day in and let life out.
Farewell, farewell, one kiss and I'll descend.
They kiss, and Romeo descends.
Art thou gone so, love, lord, husband, friend? I must hear from thee every day in the hour, for in a minute there are many days. Oh, by this count I shall be much in years ere I again behold my Romeo.
I will omit no opportunity that may convey my greetings, love to thee.
Oh, think'st thou we shall ever meet again?
I doubt it not, and all these woes shall serve for sweet discourses in our times to come.
Oh God, I have an ill divining soul. Methinks I see thee now, thou art so low as one dead in the bottom of a tomb. Either my eyesight fails, or thou look'st pale.
And trust me, love, in my eye so do you. Dry sorrow drinks our blood. Adieu, adieu.
Romeo exits.
Oh, Fortune! Fortune, all men call thee fickle. If thou art fickle, what dost thou with him that is renowned for faith? Be fickle, Fortune! For then I hope thou wilt not keep him long, but send him back again.
Enter Lady Capulet.
Oh, daughter, are you up?
Who is that calls? It is my lady mother. Is she not down so late or up so early? What unaccustomed cause procures her hither?
Juliet.
Why, how now,
descend.
Juliet?
Madam, I am not well.
Evermore weeping for your cousin's death? What, will thou wash him from his grave with tears? And if thou couldst not make him live. Therefore, have done. Some grief shows much of love, but much of grief shows still some want of wit.
Yet let me weep for such a feeling loss.
So shall you feel the loss, but not the friend which you weep for.
Feeling so the loss, I cannot choose but ever weep the friend.
Well, girl, thou weepst not so much for his death, as that the villain lives, which slaughtered him.
What villain, madam?
That same villain, Romeo.
Villain and he be many miles asunder. God pardon him, I do with all my heart, and yet no man like he doth grieve my heart.
That is because the traitor murderer lives.
Aye, madam, from the reach of these, my hands, would none but I might venge my cousin's death.
We will have vengeance for it, fear it not. Then weep no more. I'll send to one in Mantua, where that same banished runagate doth live. Shall give him such an unaccustomed dram that he shall soon keep Tybalt's company. And then I hope thou wilt be satisfied.
Indeed, I never shall be satisfied with Romeo till I behold him dead. Is my poor heart so for a kinsman vexed? Madam, if you could find out but a man to bear a poison, I would temper it, that Romeo should, upon receipt thereof, soon sleep in quiet. Oh, how my heart abhors to hear him named, and cannot come to him, to wreak the love I bore my cousin upon his body that hath slaughtered him.
Find thou the means, and I'll find such a man. But now I'll tell thee joyful tidings, girl.
And joy comes well in such a needy time. What are they, beseech your ladyship?
Well, well, thou hast a careful father, child, one who, to put thee from thy heaviness, hath sorted out a sudden day of joy that thou expects not, nor I looked not for.
Madam, in happy time, what day is that?
Marry, my child, early next Thursday morn, the gallant, young, and noble gentleman, the County Paris at St. Peter's Church, shall happily make thee there a joyful bride.
Now by St. Peter's Church and Peter too, he shall not make me there a joyful bride. I wonder at this haste that I must wed ere he that should be my husband comes to woo. I pray you, tell my lord and father, madam, I will not marry yet, and when I do, I swear it shall be Romeo, whom you know I hate, rather than Paris. These are news indeed.
Here comes your father. Tell him so yourself, and see how he will take it at your hands.
Enter Lord Capulet and nurse.
When the sun sets, the earth doth drizzle dew, but for the sunset of my brother's son, it rains down right. How now? A conduit girl? What, still in tears? Evermore showering? In one little body thou counterfeits a bark, a sea, a wind. For still thy eyes, which I may call the sea, do ebb and flow with tears. The bark thy body is sailing in this salt flood, the winds thy sighs, who raging from thy tears, and they with them, without a sudden calm will overset thy tempest-tossed body. How now, wife? Have you delivered to her our decree?
Aye, sir, but she will none. She gives you thanks. I would the fool were married to her grave.
Soft, take me with you, wife. How? Will she none? Does she not give us thanks? Is she not proud? Does she not count her blessed, unworthy as she is, that we have wrought so worthy a gentleman to be her bride?
Not proud you have, but thankful that you have. Proud can I never be of what I hate, but thankful even for hate that is meant love.
How? Chopped logic, what is this? Proud, and I thank you not, and yet not proud? Mistress minion you. Thank me no thankings, nor proud me no prouds, but fettle your fine joints 'gainst Thursday next, to go with Paris to St. Peter's Church, or I will drag thee on a hurdle thither. Out, you green sickness carrion, out, you baggage, you tallow face!
Fie, what are you, mad?
Good father, I beseech you on my knees, hear me with patience, but to speak a word.
Hang thee, young baggage, disobedient wretch. I tell thee what. Get thee to church, O Thursday, or never look me in the face. Speak not, reply not, do not answer me. My fingers itch. Wife, we scarce thought us blessed that God had lent us this only child, but now I see this one is one too much. And now that we have a curse in having her. Out on her, Hilding.
God in heaven bless her! You are to blame, my lord, to rate her so.
And why, my lady Wisdom? Hold your tongue, good Prudence. Smatter with your gossips, go.
I speak no treason.
Agadi-gaden.
May not one speak?
Peace, you mumbling fool. Utter your gravity over a gossip's bowl, for here we need it not.
You are too hot.
God's bread, it makes me mad. Day, night, hour, tide, time, work, play, alone, in company, still my care hath been to have her matched. And having now provided a gentleman of noble parentage, of fair domain, youthful and nobly lined, stuffed, as they say, with honorable parts, proportioned as one thought would wish a man. And then to have a wretched puling fool, a whining mammet in her fortune's tender, to answer, I'll not wed, I cannot love, I'm too young, I pray you pardon me. But, and you will not wed, I'll pardon you. Graze where you will, you shall not house with me. Look to it, think on it, I do not use to jest. Thursday is near. Lay hand on heart, advise. And you be mine, I'll give you to my friend. And you be not, hang, beg, starve, die in the streets. For by my soul I'll never acknowledge thee, nor what is mine shall never do thee good. Trust to it, bethink you, I'll not be forsworn.
Lord Capulet exits.
Is there no pity sitting in the clouds that sees into the bottom of my grief? Oh, sweet my mother, cast me not away. Delay this marriage for a month, a week. Or if you do not, make the bridal bed in that dim monument where Tybalt lies.
Talk not to me, for I'll not speak a word. Do as thou wilt, for I have done with thee.
Lady Capulet exits.
Oh, God! Oh, nurse, how shall this be prevented? My husband is on earth, my faith in heaven. How shall that faith return again to earth unless that husband send me from heaven by leaving earth? Comfort me, counsel me. Alack, alack, that heaven should practice stratagems upon so soft a subject as myself. sayest thou? Hast thou not a word of joy? Some comfort, nurse?
Faith. Here it is. Romeo is banished, and all the world to nothing, that he dares ne'er come back to challenge you. Or if he do, it needs must be by stealth. Then, since the case so stands as it now it doth, I think it best you married with the county. Oh, he's a lovely gentleman. Romeo's a dish-clout to him. An eagle, madam, hath not so green, so quick, so fair an eye as Perith's hath. Beshrew my very heart, I think you are happy in this second match, for it excels your first. Or if it did not, your first is dead, or 'twere as good as he were, as living here, and you no use of him.
Speak'st thou from thy heart?
And from my soul, too, else beshrew them both.
Amen.
What?
Well, thou hast comforted me marvelous much. Go in and tell my lady I am gone, having displeased my father, to Lawrence's cell to make confession and to be absolved.
Marry, I will. And this is wisely done.
Ancient damnation, oh most wicked fiend! Is it more sin to wish me thus forsworn, or to dispraise my lord with that same tongue which ye have praised him with above compare so many thousand times? Go, counselor! Thou and my bosom henceforth shall be twain. I'll to the friar to know his remedy. If all else fail, myself have power to die.
She exits. End of Act 3. Everybody return and applaud. Taylor's so surprised. What's going to happen?
It's all looking so good.
I was looking good.
Oh no.
And fell apart there. God. Amazing. So do we have Katie, our stage manager, back? I'm wondering. Yeah. Oh, hey there. I'm wondering if we have any questions or comments from the group, but we could start by seeing if the company has anything to reflect on after that. I expect this every time, but it still surprises me how prophetic, in some ways unknowingly, that Juliet is. And there's that wisdom in almost every line. She's saying what is true and what is to be, without actually literally knowing so, and in some cases, in that case there with her father and mother, in danger of actually revealing her true love of Romeo, but she does, and then manages to get out of it. It's kind of amazing.
I have a, Oh,
yeah.
sorry to jump when you're done.
No,
It's just, so it's one of those, I mean, like, coming you're always looking at the forest, you know, and like actors have this wonderful job of like of being a tree and like filling that tree. And like I had this experience so recently when I if some of you in the audience might know, I had to step into the production of Twelfth Night that I directed at Two River, playing Sir Toby. And when I did that, and was up there on stage with all of those actors who were so incredibly supportive, one of the things that I realized just viscerally, because it was like, I knew this, like intellectually I knew this, it's there on the page for everybody to see, but I didn't sort of viscerally clock it until I was in those literal shoes. Like I realized that Toby interacts with Malvolio like 1.5 times in the play before essentially being like, I'm gonna ruin your life. Like they have a single encounter where Toby is in the wrong, and then he's like, I'm gonna gaslight you and destroy all that you hold dear. Like it was this unbelievable visceral realization of how little the two actually interact on stage before everything goes down between them. And I'm having the same thing with this play now, that Romeo and Juliet have 3 scenes together: meeting, marriage, and marriage night, and getting to sleep together once. Like that's it. Like the shockingly small amount of time that I get to spend with Taylor is really hitting me. So yeah, that's what I have.
Seconded. It's wild how quick everything goes. It's like somehow I've like made up like 15 different scenes between top of play and now that we just don't have. And yeah, it sucks.
Like I think if you added it up, like we would get to like, I mean, we spend like maximum like 9 or 10 hours together. It's like the thing of like Anthony Hopkins winning an Oscar for being in Silence of the Lambs for like 6 minutes or whatever. It's just like
except
like
all we get is sorrow.
Yeah. Like,
but also what struck me about this act in particular is that I don't really interact with Tybalt at all before this, and then it just pops off so quickly. Like Tybalt, I see you, Amanda. Like Tybalt and Mercutio don't interact very much before things pop off. It's that hot summer. You know, things happen so quick. Violence erupts, love erupts. It's surprising.
Yeah, this play does not take place in a cold climate.
So, guys, just to interrupt here, we did have one comment from Joy. Juliet refers to her mother as Madam Ladyship, and her mother calls her girl, not in terms of affection. I do want to like address the mother-daughter relationship here. Does anybody have anything to comment?
Well, I mean, she didn't really raise her. The nurse is really the mother in that relationship.
Yeah.
She doesn't really know her. I think in that first scene that Lady Capulet appears in Act 1, she wants to talk to her daughter in private, and then in the same beat is like, wait, nurse, come back. You know her better than I do. So can you help me with this? So
and there's that terrifying moment of you saying, so what is it? It's like, by my count, I was your mother much upon these years that you are now a maid. Like that means you had me at like 12, technically. Like, Jesus Christ, you know, like, but it's like you know, like who knows what your situation even was, and like how are you supposed to? Yeah, I mean, not only did you like not technically like do the mothering, I think it's like trying to figure out like what position you were in when you got married and had to have a baby is pretty intense and wild. Like no wonder they don't have much of what we would think of as an intimate connection.
And I'm really here just to serve my husband and what he wants. And I think I'm scared to death of him. And that's really why I don't try to help my daughter, and I just wash my hands of her because he's scary. And
yeah, the family dynamic really comes to the surface in this act. It's not very close, not very close family.
No, and it's interesting because Lady Capulet has a bigger role than Lady Montague. So it's really like, why is that? Why, I was wondering why that is with this relationship, why this is so much more explored than Romeo's with his mom.
I love that Friar Lawrence sort of fathers Romeo and says, snap out of it. And the parallel scene of the nurse with Juliet they're older and they bestow their knowledge, their wisdom on the kids, and it sort of helps them get out, tries to get them back on their feet again. It's it's beautiful. It was beautiful to hear both of those and to see them as parallel things happening, as sort of parents, as a parent would do.
Duane, I'm so happy you chimed in here because I have a follow-up question for Mercutio. Is the tragedy a result of Mercutio's curse on both your houses, or is it just Juliet's parents getting what they deserve?
I was thinking as the act went on, they don't even mention Mercutio. They got Tybalt. It's a little...
Again, I know. Hey, I thought the same thing, Duane. And in the spirit of what Sara was saying too, it kind of takes personalizing it in that way, really, to see the truth of that. I'm glad you say that, because it can be forgotten unless we remember that you're really a man who actually died here today, and got this whole thing started. And yeah, I love that question. From whom is that from? From Carol. That curse should really resonate, right? And it's the many times that you say it, and it's those last words you say, your dying words, it really kind of threads together what we've heard at the beginning about these two households,
Well, the fact that he's outside of them, like he's a like technically a neutral casualty. I mean, even though he's Romeo's friend, he's not a Capulet or a Montague. And the only person who does remember him after he dies is the prince. When Lady Capulet is freaking out, he's like, no, your kinsman isn't the only person who died today. My kinsman died too.
Yeah.
It's like a voice from the outside all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I also find it interesting because whenever people talk about Romeo and Juliet beyond the text analysis, is that Romeo and Juliet are rushing way too fast is what people comment on. But reading through it in this setting makes you realize there is nothing either, at least up until this point, Romeo or Juliet could have done to avoid any of this. The started before the play started. Yeah. Romeo just happened to be at a party where he just happened to meet Juliet. Tybalt, Benvolio, and Mercutio just happened to meet on a hot day when everybody just wanted to fight, resulting in all of this. It was a fight Romeo didn't even want, resulting in something that Juliet didn't even want.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable that we blame Romeo and Juliet for all of these deaths when really they were the only ones who had no part in everyone dying except for Romeo defending himself from Tybalt. And Romeo has the line of, "Oh, I am fortune's fool," which really just highlights him in this play of, I could do nothing to prevent this. I just happened to fall in love with the wrong person. Really?
But you know what? You're also making me think again. I think back to, I can't remember if we discussed this in terms of first act or second act, but before, but the notion of time. We do have this sense of the sort of alacrity of it and the kind of running away, and even that marvelous gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds. There's like time is ahead of you, and you're trying to catch up with time. And the two of them seem to this happens to them in such a quick way that it almost seems improbable that we believe something that happened so quickly, and yet we do. And yet it sits on, doesn't it, this ancient foundation, and the ability, we're always reminded about our ability to believe how this could exist in such a short time, because it actually it exists in almost a time immemorial kind of time. And I think probably would have been or maybe I was just going to say more resonant for Elizabethans, maybe more resonant for Europeans, with a kind of sense of a connection to an ancient culture and the abilities for these things to sort of tribally go back in time. But we have our own, I think we have our own versions of that. But yeah.
I also think that it's like experiencing that scene with the family, like with Lord Capulet, like blowing his top, like, and like the incredible violence of that speech, right? Like, I like, get out of my house. I disown you.
Die in the street. Yeah.
Like unbelievable emotional violence of that is just like I think it's like there's also, you know, again, like we talk so much about like, you know, the lovers being young and this being a play about teenagers, but it's like there's all this truth in this play about the incredible amount of anger that people hold no matter what age they are. You know, like Lord Capulet is not a teenager. He does not have any sort of like excuse for that type of behavior, but like people are angry. People are fount of this like unbelievable violent emotion, and like it comes out of him in just as, you know, massive a way, but on the other side of the scale. You know, we've seen the love side of it. Here's like an articulate version of the hate side of it, and like, but also like what parent hasn't said something to their child that they regret? And like, I mean, I'm giving something away, but it's like he does like, it's coming up, and he like, he does have like a moment later, like, I feel bad about that, and that awkward thing where a parent has to apologize to a child, you know. But it's like, it's everybody's hot, you know. Like, I think the truth of the play is that everyone is hot. It's not just a matter of being 13. It's like we all contain that possibility for like great violence and great passion.
And that we know that. I think what I've been thinking about a lot today is, you know, why don't we just like go tell the fam that we're married? You know, you know, I have this moment with Tybalt, right, where I'm like, look, man, I know you're like throwing, you know, you're dissing me right now, but I do love you, but I can't tell you why I love you. And I think it's about that, right? Sorry, I shouldn't snap on Zoom. It's about that, right? It's about like, we know how quickly things can pop off with our families, and you know, saying that we're married is not going to help things. It's probably going to make it worse, which just causes us to not say, to not tell people our bonds of love. It's tricky. I think I'm sitting here in my late 20s, and I feel it's tricky.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hearing you both talking about that and remembering back to that first scene with Romeo coming in, you know, dreaming of love, experiencing the fight, the remnants of the fight, being reminded of hate, and reminding us how hate is in love and love is in hate. And then, yes, remembering again himself in the presence of Tybalt, that love, even though I hate you and have for centuries, now I see that I also have love in you, you know, and for you because of Juliet. And that just that Capulet can express that truth as well, that in that expression of passion, which comes out as hate, is also love.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to feel like if anybody else feels this as I do, or if I am just doing that thing that we always tend to do, which is to see a new experience of a play like this through the current lens that we're in. But I feel like there's something about the tension of isolation and quarantine and our sort of forced positioning into our tribal selves and into the closed nature of our families that helps me to see how this tension of love and hate together, closed in one place like this, makes something very hot in that way. And you hear the experiences of people, I think maybe all of us are having. It's just what this being in quarantine, being together in our tribes in a very, very intense way does to the kind of energizing of all of those passions together. and to be reminded that the play references the plague and quarantine and understand. Shakespeare probably literally himself understood this experience of dividing into one's isolated self and what that does. Yeah, but not to over determine that too much, but it did make me think that hearing that today.
And like what you just said, John, about the like Romeo having this sort of realization that he needs to, and actually in a sense already does love Tybalt because because of this love for Juliet. Like that's, I actually think like that's why love stories are radical. You know, like that's what makes a love story a story about revolution, actually. Like that's why love stories continue to be, you know, like more than romances. Like I think that when you see, like when love happens, like something happens in the world, you know, like the world shifts. And like if you think about, I mean, you were, you know, talking about lenses, right, for now, and it's like thinking about all of a sudden Romeo has this like newly expanded communal lens of like who there is in the world that he actually has to care about. And the answer is like, we actually have to care about everyone. Like everyone is our responsibility, you know? And like that's something I've been thinking about a lot in quarantine. The fact that like, that's actually, you know, that like the interconnectedness is real. It's not like, you know, it's not like a hippie chant, it's real. It just is the fact of life. And like you know, Romeo, I think actually has this moment of sort of starting to acknowledge that that's the case, that like one great love starts to open up his view of like oh God.
Oh, did I freeze or did just Sarah freeze?
Oh, I don't
Sarah?
know.
We lost the last two sentences. Say that again.
I think the last two sentences, yes, my internet is unstable. That's fun. The last two sentences were something like this sudden presence of a great love in Romeo's life, like actually starts to open up to me, like the beginnings of an idea of like social or community or communal love, right? Like it's to open up the idea that we actually owe love to our society and to like you know,
and that happens at that moment may be one of the first seeds of actually where the play goes in that way, that the love, it does extend beyond the two of them and engulfs the whole, or, you know, this whole community in this way. I just want to read, a young philosopher has a very interesting observation. A young man, Owen Noch, says to everybody, "It's ironic that young love is so related to hot emotions and hate. True love is seen as slow to anger, full of compassion and forgiveness." Interesting that, yeah.
I think that's interesting for a variety of reasons, but because we do consider that young love is hot and full of emotion, while true love is something entirely different, even though true love isn't necessarily the right term, I don't think, especially in the context of this play. But we run into developed love, where that hot, quick to emotion is still there in developed love. It's just surrounded by other things of support and trust and compassion. And
doesn't seem to have the same heat as young love, but yeah, is it there still?
Yeah, it's just insulated. And we see it not necessarily in this play so much, but in other plays and other works of literature, of that heat coming through even years into a marriage, just a small, short moment of just passion, of anger or love, and just feeling it that then gets insulated right back in. We're just seeing the initial nucleus of it before it gets encapsulated between Romeo and Juliet.
Carol makes a point that I think is so fun to, or something to hear in the play, not just Romeo himself, but that alignment of that word banishment and death, and how many times we hear that word banished it's amazing to me, just kind of dramaturgically, that a writer manages, to my ear anyway, to get away with repeating that word. I would love to count how many times it's actually said, and how many times we hear all of the syllables of it. It's really it's an amazing feat. But the shadings of it as a concept that he makes the equation equal death over the course of that is really quite amazing to me. Yeah.
I don't think we understand the concept of banishment as much as they did then. You know what I mean? They do parallel it with death, and you know, I think it was a much more serious thing than we can understand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
and
a forever thing.
It's a forever thing, but yeah.
And for when I hear Friar Lawrence say banishment, I'm like, oh, I have to live with these feelings of being separated with Juliet forever. Yeah. Whereas if I got executed, I think that I don't have to feel those feelings. And I think like that's a moment where the violence actually makes me much more selfish. Like my entire Romeo's entire landscape is like becomes real focused on me and my feelings. And what I loved about Dan's delivery of that Friar Lawrence speech that like takes the dagger out of my hand is he slowly makes me remember, oh right, Juliet's there too. And Juliet is like, whatever happens to me right now affects her. I found that very beautiful. Thanks, Dan.
Well, great. Does anybody have another comment to make? Sarah, almost looked like you were gonna say something.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, that thing that you just said, which I think is really fascinating, reminds me of, so not to get really dark, but I just read an interesting piece, I think in the Times, written by a 17-year-old about teenage despair and reflecting on a girl a teenager that she knew who had killed herself, and reflecting on her own feelings of depression in teenagers that she knows. And it was this really, I mean, the thing about it, like, to just take what you said and like turn it one more notch, it's like, I don't think it's like we can sort of stance as selfishness, also like not yet like this. I mean, that's where youth comes in to me, not so much in the strength of their feelings, which I think is like, we like to associate that with youth, but like, we can retain that or and sometimes we even should retain that, but the sort of not fully developed cortex, right? Like the idea that you can't imagine yourself beyond the situation you are in right now, that like you really haven't developed the ability yet to say like, this is hurting dreadfully, but there will be a point in time when it does not hurt. Like I don't think that, like, that's something that I think teenagers are still working on developing. Like, and that's why terrible things happen sometimes, because they can't imagine their way into a world that isn't painful, that isn't sad, that isn't the world they're currently in,
Just, that's interesting, Sarah, thinking in terms of that scene with you and the nurse and your mom at the end there, with the kind of imagining, the sort of prophesizing in the imagination of the death, like seeing things in the tomb, seeing the two of you dead, like that's what you can see. You see the death, you don't see beyond that. Yeah.
I do have one last question from the group.
Okay.
Which is, does anybody have any thoughts about Romeo not acting as a man because he's in love and therefore unwilling to fight?
Whatever.
Good old toxic masculinity coming through right there.
I concur.
Well,
You know, they were written before 1600.
having experienced it, Taylor, in the spirit of what Sarah was saying, of actually going through it, how does it make sense to you? How do you see playing that?
I mean, I didn't think that.
I'm thinking about maybe the emotional life you're bringing into that.
I think there's something complex happening there. I love what Sarah's saying about this sort of like whole new world of love that Romeo sees, for Tybalt, and by extension, sort of the Capulet family. A name that I tender as dear as mine own. And I think that there's this moment where that love gets butted up against this love that he has had for Mercutio, and it's been a little bit of a contentious relationship, but it's still friendship. It's still there's still a love there, and I mean, he says that. I mean, he says what he says. That it's this woman, and I don't know. I wonder if I want to argue that it's more than Romeo just saying, "Well, I'm out here. I'm a crier instead of a fighter in this moment, and now I'm just going to be a fighter. I'm going to have these like manly feelings of fire." I don't know. It's really it's more complex than I think it comes across on the page, because Romeo is an emotional dude. He cries well before Juliet even comes into the picture. So, yeah. but that's just me. That's just me thinking about it. I don't know if Romeo is in a position at that point to, think about his emotional state. He's just like, I want to kill Tybalt.
Yeah. I'm wondering if we tracked the trajectory of what he says and what he says about love and what one should do from his entrance through to that speech, because I think there's a link. I think there's a maturation of ideas that are happening there that come to sort of a fuller flower, having met and had the experience with Juliet, that changes the way he speaks about it, that makes, for me, that action less about not doing something than about doing something around love and hate. Do you know what I mean?
I don't. Speak on.
Well, that I don't know. I feel like the question suggests that there's a kind of inaction in him, and that there's something unmanly about that. But I wonder if, in fact, there's an action that he's taking there that makes him more mature and more on the road to being man than boy.
Yeah, you don't make things better by making them worse. I mean, how is that going to help the situation if he goes out and runs through with,
Yeah.
Yeah, and to tag on to that, he's embracing his kinsman for Juliet's sake.
Yeah, for something that's more mature. Yeah.
I've always thought he was thinking of the future. Now that she is my love, then everything that's in her world, is my love as well.
Yeah. We are right at our 90 minutes. Look at us, we're right on time. Thank you all, marvelous Two River Theater players, for a great third act today. Thank you. And thank you, audience, for joining us. Let us know how you're doing. Reach out to us, comments, questions. And we hope, of course, that we'll see you all here next week. Same time, same bat channel. All right. Everybody have a great week. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.